Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Michelle Benjamin with Audiencex. We are here to talk about connected TV advertising, what it is, when you want to use it, and what is next. Before I introduce the presenter, just a couple housekeeping items while people are joining, which I'll probably repeat later on. But if you have questions at any point, you have two options. You can use either the Q&A or the chat box. Both of those will come to Angela and myself, and we will try and answer them. If there are any questions that we don't get to, if we run out of time or we need to dig into deeper, we will send you an email because we do have all of your contact information. So don't worry about that. This is being recorded. We will share it with you later today. And if you would like a copy of the slides, when I send out the recording, you can just reply to us and ask us for a copy of the deck. We can send that over. So without further ado, I will introduce Angela. She's our Director of Programmatic. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you.
Angela is going to be talking all about connected TV, OTT, ATV, and I like to throw in a WTF at the end because it is so confusing with all the jargon. And with that, I will pass it over to you, Angela.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So first, I'm going to go through kind of some simple terms, and then we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it as we move forward. But this first slide is just showing kind of the fastest growing channel is CTV. Right now, CTV is comprised of 9 million ad impression opportunities per second, 30 billion CTV impressions per day, and that's only growing, and then 60% and growing US household penetration. CTV ad spend, this graph shows the increase of ad spend from 2019 to 2025. CTV is estimated to be about 7% of all digital ad spend in the US, and that's going to be by 2025. CTV ad spend experienced a 22% growth year over year in 2020. That's the highest gain to date. While nearly 3/4 of CTV buyers shifted budgets from broadcast and cable to CTV this year, and that's according to IAB data. Advertisers on average right now are spending 20 million on CTV, and more than a third expect to spend more this very year. And then just to move on to just some quick definitions so that you're all aware of what all of these stand for. So starting with linear TV, that's your traditional TV provided through an STB, which is a set-top box. And this uses cable or satellite to deliver live scheduled programming on traditional TV channels. So think of this as like your Spectrum, your dish, anything like that. Advanced TV, this is more of an umbrella term that refers to all the ways that you can serve ads to your TV viewing audience. So this includes CTV, OTT, and addressable TV. So addressable TV is advertising. It's the ability to show different ads to different households while they're watching the very same program. And then moving on to OTT, which stands for over the top. This is a device that connects to the internet to facilitate video viewing on TV, desktop, mobile, and tablet via dedicated OTT apps. And we'll get into what those are next couple slides. And then lastly, connected TV, CTV. It's a smart TV with internet capabilities or a regular TV that is connected to an OTT device with internet capabilities. So think of that as you have a regular TV that's not a smart TV, but you have Roku or a Fire Stick connected that gives you the ability to connect to the internet. Okay. So OTT versus CTV. So to explain this kind of simply, OTT is a subset of advanced TV that includes digital TV and CTV. So OTT devices connect users to the internet to facilitate the viewing of video inventory in a TV-like environment without needing to be subscribed to a traditional cable box subscription. And then OTT content is usually high quality, long form video. And this OTT content can be viewed on various device types as seen below. And then CTV is a subset of OTT. We're essentially talking about the type of device on which OTT content is viewed on. So digital video content that's being viewed on a TV that's connected to the internet. I think that's the easiest way to look at it. And then in regards to CTV targeting options, household targeting is probably the largest, so I'll spend a minute talking about this. This is just the responsible use of identity. CTV is about identifying a particular household, not a particular user. So matching data collection to the purpose of the device. Wanting to create a great customer experience. Consumers don't really want to see an ad, as we all know, so more relevant advertising isn't what we're focusing on here. We're focusing on how to create a seamless experience. You know, asking yourself, does the ad resonate or not? I think that's the most important thing to think about here. Household targeting is also based off IP. So we have the ability to signal multiple devices. It's also important to think of, you know, I know the cookies have been delayed, so that's not something that we're probably going to even be thinking about until 2023, but it's future proof. So we won't be affected when cookies do in fact drop. We also have the ability to target cross screen and serve a user a CTV ad, and then we can later target them with a display ad. And then the other targeting options we have are first party, so homepage visits, clicks, form completions. We move into third party, where that's more of like an age and gender, presence of children, purchase intent, and then lastly is lookalike modeling. So that's comprised of online purchases, email signups, and store locations. And then more CTV targeting options here. We have frequency capping. So we're able to frequency cap against first or third party data to focus on CTV ads. Lookalike modeling again, this is just applying a model to use characteristics of how your high performing online audience to find new high value households to target. And then lastly, CTV retargeting. Retargeting households that have seen your CTV ad across all their devices. We can then take advantage of other formats, including native, audio, display. We can even retarget households with another CTV commercial. So in terms of available inventory, here on the slide, you'll see the platform and networks, broadcaster, publishers, and then alternative providers. It's important to note that Audiencex works with 12 enterprise level DSPs and dozens of platforms, networks, and broadcasters to offer extensive CTV advertising opportunities at scale. Yep, and these are some of the networks that we work with. Okay, so kind of getting into the meat and potatoes now. You know, what are we trying to accomplish? When does CTV make sense? So in terms of what we're trying to accomplish, I think brand awareness and ad recall are the most important. Still today, TV and connected TV are one of the best avenues for brands to increase their awareness against their target market to get exposure. You know, exposure equals reach to millions of potential new customers. When buying CTV, it's important to keep the flights short. I would suggest having high frequency and potentially look at CTV as a way to engage lapsed users. From there, we can also remarket anyone who's visited a brand site with a CTV ad, which comes far from what we were able to do with linear TV. And then next is cross-device targeting. So again, extending audience reach here. These same video ads can be deployed across premium inventory, giving marketers the ability to extend their campaign's value. So I thought this was an interesting example, but last year's March Madness looked much different than it did in 2019, but marketers were still able to target consumers who have attended or watched games using offline behavioral audience data. So that was pretty cool. And then for those of you who are already investing in mobile and desktop video, you now have the opportunity to extend your campaign reach through big screen using this omni-channel solution without the high cost of traditional TV. And then moving on to quality of traffic. So knowing where to go to buy CTV, I would say is really important. There's a ton of content out there, but I think it's important to be demanding, even bullish sometimes with these suppliers, asking these important questions. So, you want to ask how you source your inventory, where does it come from, how are you ensuring best practices are in place? Otherwise, you'll find yourself just running in the wild, wild west, and you're going to see high CTMs, weird inventory, and just way too many suppliers. And then reporting, it's important to have a standardized level of confidence day over day. Focusing on premium inventory and having reporting in place to police quality of traffic is just uber important. Here at Audiencex, we normalize what we call app bundle signals to weed out sources of inventory that can't be resolved or identified. And this helps us rapidly cut down fraud, which is important in the CTV world. We're also focusing on leveraging key publisher relationships that are all centered around premium content, and then we usually see that at a lower CPM. Why do we like CTV? Many reasons. Full screen TV ad experience on large living room devices. No upfront buys are required. 100% in view and high video completion rates. We're seeing completion rates 90% plus, which is great. Support for third-party ad serving and measurement, which is not available for traditional TV. And then we have the ability for precise targeting at the household level to reach strategic audiences with no wasted impressions. Lastly, the unique inventory options that include the ability to retarget viewers, engaging inventory to increase recall, plus advanced capabilities to survey consumers that were not served an ad. Okay, so frequency capping. Here's kind of a visual to help convey this message, but frequency capping on CTV means that you can minimize waste and ad impressions across channels. Don't necessarily have that with linear TV. They have linear TV averages roughly a 4 times higher frequency than CTV campaigns. So we tend to see over delivery on our frequency goals with linear TV. So what's next for CTV? Starting with consumption shifts. So shifts that were accelerated by the pandemic have now become the norm. Everything's kind of leveling out. 80% of people are saying that CTV is a part of their daily lives. And that came from an article I read on Trade Desk. And then linear mainstreams such as sports, they're now available on streaming apps. I think sports was a key factor for a lot of households in keeping their cable subscriptions prior to cutting the cord. And then that takes us right into cutting the cord. So this is kind of a phrase of the past now. 47% of US TV views do not subscribe to traditional cable, but among those who do, 44% plan on cutting back on their services over the next year. The value that linear TV once offered just isn't seen worth the cost now. I thought an interesting note was that 77% of those who do subscribe to traditional cable are also consuming streaming content. So it's not necessarily one or the other. It's just what show or content they're watching. They're going to go to that source. So predicting the new normal. Consumer behavior is changing. This is everything from shopping habits to entertainment patterns. Consumer perspective is that CTV plays a bigger role now than linear TV, which we've seen. Advertisers are seeing that moving budgets to reflect this. However, it's still important to see that linear TV is still part of the mix since both are being utilized. With tech like ACR, it'll further help bridge the audience between linear TV and CTV and OTT. For those of you who aren't familiar with ACR, it's an identification technology, and it allows specific television content to be recognized by video, audio, watermarking to identify content through cues or codes in real time, and that's regardless of the source. So this includes commercials, programs, networks, gaming, and genres that can be tied to a specific household, and that's depending on the accuracy and efficacy of the ACR methodology. David Barker, he's Samba TV's SVP of Global Commercial Partnerships. He explained this well. He said that with ACR, marketers gain comprehensive insights into what their audiences are watching and how campaigns are performing without reliance on piecemealing platform-specific viewing data in real time, which I thought was very interesting. David then went on to call out new viewing behaviors, such as ad skipping, time shifting, binge watching, and ACR helps navigate these behaviors with insights for brands. So you're able to better strategize campaigns by adjusting for reach and frequency to reach your audience. And then moving on to future forecast, CTV and linear TV are moving closer together and essentially going to become one. Soon we'll be able to deliver our advertising messages using sight, sound, and motion via big screens, in turn delivering specific ads to particular audiences that brands care about. I think once the industry is able to work through those technological hurdles, the sooner CTV will become one of the most valuable ad vehicles for both brands and viewers. So in conclusion, the offering. So CTV offers a tremendous opportunity to connect with targeted groups of viewers on the big screen, even as TV viewing habits continue to change. So there's no extensive upfront buys required, as with traditional TV advertising, yet we're seeing 100% in view and 90% plus completion rates. It's one of the fastest growing channels. There's a reason that advanced TV is the fastest growing advertising channel today. It's combining unparalleled viewability with programmatic purchasing to increase efficiencies means that the digital marketers can reach their audiences across all screens. And this just builds brand loyalty, and it helps drive lift. So I read an interesting article. So quoting Ground Truth's Ruben Osorio, he said that CTV and OTT is where mobile was 10 years ago. So compared to other digital advertising options, OTT and CTV are still in early development, but the benefits and future potential far outweigh some of the unknowns. He said that although we are limited to ad formats right now, there are still a lot of upside. Marketers should be excited about the greater reach and personalization possibilities and look for ways to explore and test what might work for their brand. And then lastly, the opportunity. Per that Ground Truth article, March 2020 marked the beginning of one of the most disruptive moments in modern history, creating economic challenges across almost every media category. But for some, the disruption became a positive force for massive growth and accelerated adoption. It marked the beginning of what you would call an unprecedented subscriber growth, as most Americans took to the digital entertainment to help cope with the pandemic. And then as consumers' viewing habits gravitate towards digital platforms, us brands have the opportunity to activate CTV and OTT video advertising at scale, and as mentioned earlier, at a lower cost than traditional linear TV advertising. Per the Trade Desk's Future of TV report, 2020 was the year that marketers could reach more US households via streaming TV services than connected conventional cable TV. A brand can miss up to 40% of this desired audience reach by ignoring CTV or OTT in its media plan, depending on the target audience segment. So just goes to show how important it is to include CTV in your media plan and marketing mix, you know, to get that reach. I went through that pretty quickly.
All right. Awesome. Thank
Hopefully I didn't
you.
talk too fast through that.
No, I don't think so. All right. So thank you, Angela. If anyone has questions, feel free to send them over via the Q&A or the chat box. We will take a look at those. We've got some that have come in, so we can definitely address them. If you don't want to ask them now and you would like to send us an email, our contact information is here, or you can just reply when I share the recording later, and we will be happy to answer them. I have a question that I would like to ask.
Sure.
To start off, I feel like OTT and CTV are used interchangeably by so many people. I know, you know, Audiencex runs campaigns for agencies and marketers across every channel: display, search, social. CTV is definitely one of them. And I know people come to us and say, I want to run a CTV campaign, or they say an OTT campaign. How big of a deal is it if people use the wrong term? Can we use them interchangeably, or are they just referring to content versus device?
It's mostly content versus over device, but they're interchangeable. So
Okay.
we're running both. It's just important to know where you want to run. If you want to run on premium content, then you know we want to definitely serve these buys over that content. And it's important when I was talking about reporting, you know, it's really looking at that reporting and being able to signal out any wasted or unidentified you know, sites, so that you're not running on trash.
Yep, definitely. Nobody wants that.
No. I see a couple questions. I can start answering these. Is that good, Michelle?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So one of the questions that came through is asking, how is frequency cap done without the use of cookies on CTV, OTT? This is a great question. So since CTV and OTT is mostly based off IPs, we actually have the ability to control frequency caps by leveraging use of what's called an identity solution. And this ranges, so Trade Desk technology is called AdBrain. We can also utilize LiveRamp IDL and Oracle's Crosswise to key in on these households, people, or unique IDs across their personal and household devices. So that's how frequency cap is done without the use of cookies. We solely rely on these IPs. Okay, let's see, another question. What do we expect to see post-pandemic? With restrictions lifted, will CTV OTT spend differ? That's a great question. I actually have an eMarketer stat, and that shows the advertising spend. Advertisers spent an additional 1.16 billion on programmatic CTV videos in 2020. And they predict that the incremental spending in 2021, I should say, will increase to 2.37 billion. That 2.37 billion will represent almost 29% of all incremental spending on programmatic video ads this year. So about 15% of growth in total programmatic display. Yeah, and I just pulled that from an eMarketer article. I can link that as a source when we send this email out to everybody so they can take a look at the complete article. Okay, let's see. I think there's one more question. What are agencies saying, doing with their media budgets? Okay, let me link another source. So in 2020, Ad Exchanger found that as attention moved towards CTV, almost 60% of buyers decided to increase their CTV budgets. And an eMarketer study showed that the shift in budgets from linear TV to CTV was largely influenced by the ability to target more efficiently and the increased reach available through CTV ads. So that was an interesting point. So budgets are continuing to increase. I don't see CTV dropping as restrictions lift with the pandemic. I think it's just continually increasing year over year from what I've seen.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to avoid. I know we're all watching TV now all the time, so it's just a matter of how much of it. All right. I think we're good. If we didn't answer your questions, we will send you an email and get them answered. And if you have any CTV campaign needs that you would like to talk to us about, I will connect you with Angela and the team, and we'd be happy to let you know what's available with Audiencex. Angela, thank you so much for all your
thanks
insight.
everyone. Yeah, we got through that pretty quickly, but please reach out with any questions. And then there was a question about getting a copy of this presentation. So yes, that will be sent along with the recording.
Yep, we will send that later today, and let us know if you need anything else. And otherwise, have a great Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.